Discover how a black kitchen helper transformed a billionaire CEO's message in an unexpected way. The clatter of plates echoed like thunder in the bustling downtown cafe, a warm haven in the shadow of Chicago's steel giants. Samira, a 28-year-old kitchen helper, moved with purpose, her infectious laughter weaving a tapestry of joy among her coworkers. To the regulars, she was a beacon of light in a world marred by economic inequality. In her heart, dreams of building a community center for underprivileged kids sparked a flame of resilience that kept her going. Despite the weight of her struggles, this particular morning, a chill nipped at the air, a reminder of the frigid city outside. Just as Samira shared a joke about her overcooked eggs with her friends, the cafe doors swung open, letting in a gust of cold air that brought with it the unmistakable aura of power. Ethan Cross, the millionaire CEO of a leading tech firm, walked in, intent on grabbing a quick cup of coffee to fuel his day. Unbeknownst to him, he would find something far more valuable. Clad in his tailored suit, Ethan felt the relentless pressure of a looming scandal bearing down on him. But amid the chaos of the cafe, he heard Samira's laughter bright and unguarded. Drawn by her authenticity, he couldn't resist leaning in. She was entirely unaware of his wealth or his name, chatting animatedly with co-workers about dreams, community ties, and the importance of sticking together through hard times. Every kid deserves a chance to chase their dreams, she declared, her eyes sparkling with passion. We just need to give them a safe space, somewhere they can feel loved and supported. Ethan felt a tightness in his chest, the weight of corporate decisions pressing down harder than before. As she spoke, her voice cut through the fog of his corporate responsibilities, igniting something inside him. For the first time in weeks, he chuckled alongside her, captivated by her genuine spirit. The stark contrast between their worlds didn't matter. He was simply a man listening to a woman with a mission. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the cafe buzzed with excitement, Ethan's thoughts turned to the businesses he was about to prune for profits. He felt a pang of guilt. His decisions could threaten this very cafe and Samira's dreams. The cafe was not just a coffee shop. It was a community, vibrant and alive, built on shared faces and laughter. As the day drew on, the chatter took a serious turn. Samira found herself in the thick of a grassroots movement, rallying the cafe staff and regulars against the corporate giant looming above them. Ethan watched, deeply moved, as Samira's spirit birthed hope in every word she spoke, her voice drowning out the fear that floated around them. In a high-stakes boardroom, multiple voices clashed, and Samira stood resolutely at the front, determination radiating from her. The audience felt her conviction. Could she really reshape the ethos of a millionaire's company? Together, this unlikely pair faced a brewing storm. The barriers between them melted with every shared laugh, each bold dream voiced aloud. But as the pressure mounted toward a decision that could change their lives and the cafe's future forever, one question still lingered. Would Ethan choose to redefine success for himself and his company? Or would the chains of wealth bind him to a world that threatened to swallow Samira's dreams whole? The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm but precarious glow across the city skyline. As evening approached, the cafe buzzed with energy, more people wanting to escape the biting cold outside. Samira stood behind the counter, a whirlwind of motion. She knew this was the turning point for her initiative, and her heart raced in anticipation. "Can you believe it?" she exclaimed to a couple of regulars. "We might actually do this." Her excitement was infectious, sparking chatter that built the momentum she needed. Amid the clinks of cups and murmurs of patrons, Ethan re-entered the cafe. The weighty expectations of his board meeting loomed large, but the moment he spotted Samira, something softened in his stern expression. Her laughter echoed off the walls, vivid and unfiltered. He approached her cautiously, unsure how to weave his complicated world into hers. "Hey," he said, his voice steady yet vulnerable. "I was thinking we should talk." Samira turned, wiping her hands on her apron, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. Is this about the community center? Ethan felt a surge of adrenaline as he nodded. Exactly that. I've been watching you rally everyone. It's inspiring, Samira. But I think you could use support. Resources. Her brow furrowed, a mix of hope and skepticism clouding her features. Resources? From you? I'm not sure that's really what we need. We fight to keep this place alive, not sell it to the highest bidder. Hold on, he interjected, his voice urgent. I'm not saying that. I want to help amplify what you're already doing, not take away from it. There was silence for a moment, both of them weighing the unspoken implications of those words. The tension felt palpable, as if the whole cafe paused to listen. I don't trust corporate motives, she finally replied, her voice steady, and I've seen firsthand what happens when businesses get greedy. You might just be another guy in a suit with a lot of cash. What has to stop you from treating this cafe like one of your projects? Ethan sighed, both admiration and frustration swirling in his chest. He understood her hesitation, but longed for a way to bridge the gap. You've got to trust that I'm more than my position. I'm willing to change. This is my chance to do something meaningful. Meaningful? You think throwing money around is meaningful? I want to be part of this community, not exploit it. I believe what you're creating here can be transferred to every corner of the city. Imagine the kids who could thrive if we pooled our efforts. You could actually build that center. As he spoke, that familiar knot tightened in Samira's chest. She longed for the kids in her neighborhood, the same kids who played hopscotch on cracked sidewalks, dreaming of brighter days. But to trust Ethan would mean opening a door that had long been bolted shut in her heart. The cafe buzzed around them, laughter merging with heated discussions. A glimmer of hope whispered amid the noise, showcasing possibilities they could either embrace or let slip away. What's your real motivation, Ethan? She asked, her eyes locked onto his. Ethan hesitated, picking his words carefully. I want to redefine success, with more than just the bottom line in mind. Their gazes held, and for a moment, the world faded away. But could he truly change? Would this partnership prove to be a lifeline, or just a new chain binding them both? Samira felt a stirring within her, the spark of a decision, but the clock was ticking. This was no simple conversation, it was a crossroads. As the noise of the cafe surged again, she wondered if the future would find them together on this path, or if they were doomed to remain in their separate worlds. There was a foul weight in the air, heavy with both hope and doubt. What would be the driving force in their choices? The possibility loomed just outside their grasp, but could they reach it before it slipped away for good? Samira took a deep breath, feeling the heat of the cafe wash over her like a wave. The chatter around them grew louder, but in this moment, all she could hear was her own heartbeat, thumping in her ears. Okay, she finally said, her voice steadying as she broke their gaze. Let us pretend you're serious about helping. How would that even look? Ethan's expression shifted, hope flickering across his face like the warm light from the cafe's hanging bulbs. We could start with a community meeting, he suggested eagerly. Gather all the parents, the kids, everyone. We can brainstorm ways to fund the center together, and I can introduce some key players in my company who might be genuinely interested in investing not just money, but time. Samira crossed her arms, her natural skepticism creeping back in. You say it like it's that easy. People don't just trust a fancy suit with a proposal and a smile. I know, and I'm willing to put in the work to earn that trust, he replied, his voice firmer. But you have to meet me halfway. You care about this place, you feel it. I want to feel that too, to be part of something real. Imagine the difference we could make. She was quiet, letting his words swirl in her mind. It was tempting to imagine a reimagined future, vibrant with hopeful possibilities. But the scars of past betrayals clung to her, making her hesitant. Trust isn't built on words alone, she finally said, gnawing her lip. It takes action. Ethan nodded, looking more resolute than before. Then let us take action. Start small, if that is what it takes. I'll come to the next community meeting, meet whoever's willing to talk. You can lay down the groundwork. Show me who matters. Samira felt the knot loosen just a little, but fear still lingered. And if this doesn't work out, I can't risk heartbreak again. He softened, stepping a bit closer to her. You won't know unless you try. We could fail, true, but we also might succeed beyond our wildest dreams. You want to help those kids, I see that. Let us make a plan together. As she looked into his eyes, she saw sincerity and something else. A shared yearning for change, for a deeper connection. It was there, just below the surface. The cafe's atmosphere surged around them, filled with laughter and an occasional clinking of cups. But inside her, a storm of emotions brewed. "Okay," she said at last, "I'll give you a chance. But on my terms." Ethan's expression lit up, relief spilling forth like a gentle tide. "That is all I'm asking. Let us show them what we can do." A smile curled at the corners of Samira's mouth, her heart fluttering with the possibility. "You better not screw this up. I promise," he replied, that million-dollar smile of his warming the air between them. But as happiness bubbled in her chest, darker thoughts clouded her mind. How far could they truly take their vision? And what would happen when the realities of their worlds collided? Before she could voice her uncertainty, the door swung open, and a gust of wind rushed in, sending a chill through the cafe. A figure stepped in, a familiar face, one that made her stomach twist. It was Jessie, her childhood friend turned rival, a community activist who had always questioned Samira's choices. "What is going on here?" Jessie's voice pierced through the noise, her eyes narrowing on Ethan. Heat rose in Samira's cheeks as the cafe buzzed with intrigue. What would Jessie stir up? Suddenly, the room felt smaller, charged with tension. This was only the beginning of a thrilling journey. Samira braced for the fallout as she and Ethan exchanged uneasy glances. Their partnership just became more complicated, but was that an obstacle or an opportunity? Samira's heart raced as Jessie's sharp voice sliced through the cafe's lively atmosphere. She could feel the air grow thick. Jessie had an uncanny ability to highlight every little insecurity within her, turning attention into scrutiny. "What is going on here?" Jessie repeated, now making her way through the crowd, her eyes darting between Samira and Ethan. The curiosity in the cafe morphed into a whispering tide, each pair of ears trying to catch every word. Ethan stood tall but shifted slightly, his confidence wavering under Jessie's gaze. Samira felt a tight knot in her stomach. She needed to control this situation. "Just discussing community plans," Samira replied, her voice steady but her insides churned. Jessie raised an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced. "Planning with him?" She gestured to Ethan, a hint of disdain coloring her tone. "What makes you think he's going to help you?" "He's just another outsider looking to put a shiny label on a broken community." Heat rushed to Samira's face, the undeserved accusation igniting a fire within her. "You don't know that," she said, defiance creeping into her words. "He wants to market the center," Jessie interrupted, folding her arms like an impenetrable shield. "What isn't it for him? You're thinking of children, but he's thinking profits." The truth of Jessie's words hit Samira hard, creating a momentary rift in her convictions. Could this be just another trap? She looked to Ethan, searching for reassurance in his eyes. But what she saw was a flicker of uncertainty too. "Jessie, it's not like that," Ethan interjected, stepping forward with a calm authority that surprised Samira. "I'm here because I want to learn, to help make a difference. Samira believes in this place, like I do. You don't know me. A suit talking about community change? Spare me," Jessie said, her tone dripping with skepticism. "You come to sell dreams, not support them. I'm willing to give my time, resources, anything necessary," Ethan responded, his voice gaining strength. "This isn't just a business venture for me. I care." Samira could see the spark in Ethan's eyes, the sincerity that had drawn her to him in the first place. But Jessie's doubts loomed large, and she felt the weight of the cafe's collective gaze. The tension simmered in the air, and all eyes were glued on them, eager for a showdown. This confrontation was more than personal. It represented a larger struggle between hope and disappointment. "Let people decide for themselves," Samira found herself saying, trying to inject some levity into the heated debate. "We can organize a meeting. Let everyone air their thoughts. They'll see where our intentions lie." Jessie narrowed her eyes, reluctantly considering the suggestion. "What? A town hall with Mr. Corporate? You believe he will listen?" "Yes." Samira's voice was clearest statement she had made yet. "I believe he will. And he needs to prove he's worth our trust." Ethan nodded, a reassuring smile creeping back onto his lips. "Exactly. I want this to be transparent. If folks aren't on board with this idea, I'll step back." Jessie glanced around, caught between skepticism and contemplation. She wasn't buying it yet, but Samira knew a seed of doubt had been planted in her friend's mind. What do you think the kids would say? Jessie shot back, unwilling to let it go. They're who we're fighting for, Samira. Don't forget that. Across the room, Samira spotted a small group of kids, faces eager and earnest, looking at her as if she held their future in her hands. They deserved better. Both Jessie and Ethan had that much in common. Fine. I'll set up the meeting, Jessie finally replied, her tone taking on a more conciliatory edge. But if it turns south, you both will know why. Relief flooded Samira's chest, but the path ahead felt precarious, lined with potential pitfalls. Thank you, Jessie, Samira said softly, feeling the weight of the moment. As Jessie turned away, muttering something under her breath, Samira faced Ethan, who looked both grateful and anxious. If we're doing this together, we need to prepare. The stakes just got higher. Together, then, he affirmed, a flicker of determination igniting in his eyes. But as Samira smiled, an unsettling thought lingered, having that meeting was only the first obstacle. Would they survive the storm that came after? Would their hopes break under the pressure of trust, or grow stronger? The cafe buzzed around them, but all she could hear was the sound of her own heartbeat, echoing every step ahead. Samira's fingers absent-mindedly traced the rim of her coffee cup as her mind raced. The cafe started to buzz again, slowly. Conversations resumed, but to her, the noise felt distant. She glanced at Ethan, who was staring out the window, deep in thought. A part of her wished they had a moment to breathe, to collect their thoughts before jumping into whatever chaos this meeting could bring. What if Jessie's right? She finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. What if people don't trust you, Ethan? He turned to her, a crease forming between his brows. Trust has to be earned, Samira. I get that. But all I need is a chance to show them what I'm here for. I genuinely want to help. And there it was again, the authenticity that caught her off guard. Could he transform their community instead of turning it into some glitzy project meant to rake in profits? She wanted to believe him, but Jessie's words were gnawing at the back of her mind. Just then, a rumble of laughter erupted from the group of children she had seen earlier. Their joy radiated through the cafe, and for a moment, Samira felt a surge of hope. It wasn't just about Jessie, or even about Ethan. It was about those kids, their laughter echoing the dreams Samira had for them. Let us focus on the kids, she said, her voice steadier now. They're the reason we're fighting. We can't let anything distract us. They deserve a shot at something better. Ethan nodded slowly, a spark igniting in his expression. You're right. What do you think they need most? Samira thought for a moment. A place to feel safe, to learn, to discover their potential. A vibrant community center where they can engage in activities that challenge them and help them grow. Ethan's eyes brightened. What if we bring them into the meeting? Let their voices be heard? It would show everyone we're in this for them. That's brilliant. Samira felt a warmth unfurl in her chest. If their excitement and enthusiasm share the stage with our plans, it might sway hearts that wouldn't otherwise align. But we need to prepare for pushback. As they plotted their approach, the sunlight streaming through the cafe's window cast a warm glow around them. The overwhelming sense of camaraderie edited the air, reminding Samira of why she was so invested in this, the connection to something greater than herself. I'll talk to Jessie, Samira said, determination bubbling in her voice. If she sees the kids getting involved, it might melt her resistance. We can't let fear stand in the way of transforming this place. Ethan grinned. Okay then, team plan. Let us get the kids excited. Before they could set their plan in motion, a sudden commotion arose at the back of the cafe. Samira turned just in time to see a man storming in, his face twisted with anger. A hush fell over the room, drawing all eyes toward him. What is happening? Samira murmured to Ethan, her stomach knotting again. The man's voice boomed, and the tension in the cafe morphed, shifting from anticipation to alarm. You think you can come into this community and manipulate us with your flashy ideas? Samira's heartbeat quickened as she exchanged anxious glances with Ethan. The storm she had feared was here, and they hadn't even started. Just then, the man locked eyes with her, his fury unmistakable. With everyone's attention now focused on them, Samira realized they had no choice but to face this. Was Ethan ready to tackle this, whatever it was? Her heart thudded. Would this encounter crack their budding alliance, or deepen it? The cafe felt like a pressure cooker, and Samira knew they needed to respond gracefully or risk losing everything. As the man stepped closer, his finger pointed accusingly at Ethan. Samira took a deep breath, preparing for the confrontation to unfold. In that moment, she understood that their journey was just beginning, and the stakes had risen infinitely higher. What would they say when the truth came out? Samira's heart raced, 1,000 thoughts colliding in her mind. The man's voice was a tidal wave, crashing over any notion of preparation they might have had. She could see Ethan's jaw tighten, his resolve matching the fury radiating from the stranger. Behind them, the cafe's atmosphere shifted, patrons exchanging worried glances, sensing the electric tension. "What is your name?" The man spat, fixing his gaze on Ethan. "Ethan Cole," he replied, his voice steady despite the tremor in the air. "And I assure you, I'm here to help." "Help?" The man scoffed. "You don't know our struggles. You don't know what this place needs. You're just another outsider with a shiny proposal." Samira felt a heat rising in her chest. She couldn't let this narrative take hold, infecting Ethan's intentions with doubt. "Actually, Ethan is passionate about this community," she interjected. "He believes in our potential. He wants to create something that will uplift us all." The man's eyes darted toward her, skeptical, but there was something raw and vulnerable in his expression that struck a chord. "And you?" he asked. "What do you want? What do you know about fighting through every day, just to survive?" The weight of his words hung heavily around them. It was more than frustration. It was a deep-seated fear of being overlooked yet again. Samira took a step forward, compelled to show him that they were not just theoretical players in his struggle. "I grew up here too. I know what it feels like to fight for your dreams amid doubt," she confessed. "But I also learned that change starts when people come together instead of tearing each other apart." The room fell silent, her voice resonating in the shared space. Samira's eyes searched the man's, trying to reach the deeper fear that lay beneath his anger. To her surprise, she caught a glimmer of recognition. "And those kids," she continued, "they deserve this chance. They need to see that there's hope beyond survival. They need to see that we believe in them." Ethan nodded, his confidence bolstered by her words. "What if we dedicate this project to the community? That's the only way we can earn your trust, by putting it in your hands. We want your feedback. We want to co-create this space." The man's expression softened, if only slightly. "Talk as cheap, kid. Prove it. Then come to the meeting," Ethan urged, stepping closer with an open hand. "Hear the kids. Let them show you what they envision. We want to hear your voice, too." Samira's heart thudded. This was the moment. If they could sway him, they could start paving a path toward collaboration rather than confrontation. The man hesitated, weighing his options. Finally, the fire in his eyes flickered. "Fine. One meeting. But if I don't see any sincerity, you'll regret stepping into our turf." "Thank you," Samira said softly, relief flooding her senses. She turned to Ethan, who wore an encouraging grin, the initial tension giving way to something new of fragile hope. As the man stormed out of the cafe, the patrons slowly returned to their conversations, the air lightening. Samira exhaled, her heart still racing. "That was intense," she said, laughter escaping her lips despite the tension still thrumming through her. Ethan chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. "You were amazing. Seriously, you brought him around in no time." "I just spoke from the heart," she replied, glancing through the cafe's window. The sun was beginning to dip, casting an orange hue that felt like a promise. "But we still have work to do. The meeting is crucial, and Jessie," she won T back down easily. A shadow fell over her moment of triumph as she thought of Jessie's guarded demeanor. "What if she pushes back again?" Ethan asked, his optimism now mixed with concern. "Then we show her we're not just here for ourselves. We fight together, as a team," Samira said, bringing an unyielding determination into her voice. But as they braced for this new chapter, a thought clung to Samira's mind. The man had revealed the cracks in her confidence, and she wondered what would confronting Jessie truly cost. They were a step closer. But would facing Jessie's skepticism dim the flame they had just ignited? As twilight painted the streets with hues of purple and gold, Samira and Ethan exited the cafe. The bustling sounds of life filled the air: laughter, car horns, and snippets of music floated from nearby storefronts. But all that noise faded into the background, replaced by the weight of their looming meeting. "Are you ready?" Ethan asked, glancing at Samira. His brows knitted together in concern. "Ready as I'll ever be," she replied, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. She could already picture Jesse's face, a mixture of skepticism and defiance. No doubt Jesse would see their project as a threat, not an opportunity. Samira swallowed hard. Willing herself to push through the shadows of doubt, they walked side by side, determination pushing them forward. As they turned the corner, they spotted Jessie leaning against the wooden railing of the community center, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. "Here goes nothing," Samira whispered, forcing a smile, trying to convince herself that everything would work out just fine. "Remember," Ethan said softly, "we're in this together." Samira nodded. "Right." Jessie's gaze flicked over Ethan before landing on Samira, her expression unreadable. "You two seem awfully chipper today. What? Did you come to share your big dreams?" she said, her tone laced with sarcasm. "Actually, we want to share them with you," Ethan replied, stepping forward, a fire igniting in his voice. "We'd love for you to be part of this project. It's about the community, after all." Skepticism shadowed Jesse's features. "And why do you think I want to jump on board your little plan? I'm not easily swayed by promises or fancy words." "Neither am I," Samira admitted, the truth spilling out before she could hold it back. "But I believe in what we can create together. This isn't just about us. It's about the kids and giving them a place that represents who they are. Something they can be proud of." Jesse's eyes narrowed, studying Samira's face. "You think those kids care about all that? They just want a place to hang out, not another adult's idea of community." "But that's where you're wrong," Samira exclaimed, her passion rising. "These kids have dreams. You've seen it in their faces during sessions at the center. They don't need to settle. They need to see that the world ought to reflect their potential, not their struggles." Jessie turned away, her shoulders tense, grappling with a mix of emotions that Samira couldn't decipher. Samira took a deep breath, trying to quell her nerves. There was so much riding on Jesse's response. "Just tell me how exactly you plan to pull this off," Jessie finally said, her voice steadier. "We want to host a series of workshops. Let the kids express their visions, their ideas. We'll bring in mentors to help them develop those. We want to listen to the community and actually involve them in decisions," Ethan explained, his voice stronger now. Jessie scoffed, shaking her head. "Words are just ink on paper until you prove otherwise. You really think that's enough?" "I know we have to do more to gain trust," Samira pressed, feeling hope tugging at her. "But we're ready to work side by side, to show that we're serious. We need you there, Jessie. You know this place better than anyone." Silence hung thick between them, and just when Samira thought she had pushed too hard, Jessie's stone facade began to crack. "You really mean that?" she asked, her voice quieter, almost vulnerable. "I do," Samira replied softly. "Together, we can make a difference. For the kids. For all of us." Jessie shifted, caught in the tangled web of emotions, and murmured, "Fine. But know this, if you fail, I won't hesitate to call you out." "I wouldn't expect anything less," Ethan said, a small smile breaking through. Just as Samira felt a flicker of hope ignite, the sound of glass shattering erupted from the street. A car had spun out of control, colliding with a lamppost, sending shards flying. Samira's heart dropped. "Is everyone okay?" she yelled, rushing toward the source of the commotion. Ethan and Jessie followed close behind, but as they reached the crowd of shocked onlookers, an unsettling thought clawed at Samira's mind. What if their plans for change were derailed by something uncontrollable? What if they weren't prepared for the chaos that lurked around every corner? The crowd parted to reveal the scene, and for a second, all Samira could do was stare. This wasn't over. The struggle was just beginning. But as she looked back at Jessie and Ethan, she realized they may just be ready to face whatever storm lay ahead. Would they be strong enough to weather it together? The crowd swirled around them, a mass of murmurs and gasps. Samira's heart raced as she squeezed through, trying to catch sight of the driver. The vehicle sat crumpled against the lamppost, steam billowing from the hood like some wounded animal. "Call 911. Someone shouted, panic slicing through the air. Samira's breath caught. "Ethan!" she yelled, spotting him already reaching for his phone. She turned to Jessie, who was standing frozen, her expression furrowed in shock. "Come on, we can help." Jessie blinked, her face scrunching tight as if trying to suppress a flood of feelings. "Help? How?" "Just standing here isn't doing anything. Let us check on the driver," Samira urged, her voice rising over the chaos. In that moment, all thoughts of community projects and trust became background noise. The urgency of the situation electrified the air around them. They moved swiftly, instinct urging them to act. The driver appeared dazed, but was still conscious. Samira crouched down beside the passenger's side, looking into the car. "Are you okay? Can you hear me?" She felt a sharp pang in her stomach. The driver's face was pale, glazed over like he was fighting to stay awake. Just tired," he murmured, but his eyes rolled slightly. Samira's heart pounded. "Stay with us," Ethan said, kneeling next to her, his eyes darting around the chaotic scene. "Help is on the way. Just focus on us." Behind them, Jessie started organizing the bystanders. "Okay, everyone make some space. We need fresh air for him." The hesitation that had gripped her moments before was replaced with action, a newfound strength emerging. Samira couldn't help but glance at Jessie, surprised by the shift. She recognized the fight within Jessie, the same fire that had ignited during their earlier conversation. "Maybe we're more alike than I thought," she mused, but her focus quickly returned to the driver. "Stay awake for me, all right?" Samira said, squeezing his hand through the shattered window. "Think about getting home. What is your favorite meal?" He blinked, trying to hold on to her gaze. "Tacos," he replied weakly, a slight smile flickering across his lips. "Mom's, she makes the best." "That sounds amazing. We'll have some together soon," Samira said, determination elevating her voice. As the sirens sounded in the distance, a calm threaded through the chaos. The driver seemed to relax slightly, his breathing steadier. Samira shot a grateful glance at Jessie and Ethan. They were in this together, just like they said earlier. The paramedics barreled through the crowd, taking over the scene. As they carefully pulled the driver from the car, Samira swallowed hard, feeling the weight of everything they had just done. They had faced chaos, had shown up, and it felt powerful. Once they began to guide the driver toward the ambulance, Samira pulled back, looking at Ethan and Jessie, sharing a moment where words fell away. "Maybe our project can be even more than we imagined," Ethan started, breathless from the adrenaline and intensity of the scene. "We're already making a difference." "Today was a reminder, right?" Jessie interjected, a hint of her fierce spirit returning. "If we can respond to this, we can do anything for those kids." Samira nodded, feeling an infusion of energy and purpose align within them. There was hope in the air, a shift that promised change. But as they turned to leave, a distant scream pierced through the atmosphere, a reminder that chaos was never far behind. "What is happening?" Jessie shouted, scanning the crowd. Samira's heart dropped again. Knowing they couldn't escape the storm brewing around them, the fight for their community was about to take on a whole new level. Would they be ready to face the deeper issues lurking beneath the surface? Samira felt a cold shiver run through her as she scanned the crowd. The scream echoed again, sharper this time, slicing through the rising tension. She could see people moving, a ripple of panic spreading as more voices joined in the chaos. "Let us go," Samira shouted, instinctively moving forward. Ethan and Jessie fell and stepped beside her, their faces a mix of determination and dread. They pushed through the mass, adrenaline fueling their urgency. What had happened? Was it connected to the crash? The crowd grumbled, whispers turning to shouts. Someone yelled about a fight breaking out near the market. Samira could already feel the air thickening with fear, a tight knot forming in her stomach. "There's no time to waste," Ethan urged, glancing back at Jessie, who had started to lag a bit. "Stay close." Samira glanced at Jessie, who was biting her lip, her brows furrowed tightly. "Are you okay?" Samira asked, the concern spilling over in her voice. "I don't know," Jessie muttered, shaking her head but unwilling to back down. The fire that had ignited within her moments ago still flickered, though the flames seemed smaller now. They broke through the final line of onlookers and into the narrow alley that connected to the market square. The noise amplified. It was a mess of shouting and screaming, and the sight was chaotic. Two groups faced off, anger flaring like matches in dry grass. People were pushing and shoving. "Stop!" Jessie yelled, charging forward as if she could bring peace with her words alone. Samira grabbed her arm, holding her back. "Jessie, wait. We can't just jump in there," she insisted, seeing the fire in her friend's eyes. She understood Jessie's need to act, but knew they needed a calmer approach. "We need to split them up." Ethan chimed in, scanning the scene, trying to gauge the best way to intervene. "No, we need to talk to them," Samira countered. "We can't throw ourselves into the middle of it. We have to remind them that they're not enemies." A heavy silence hung as they assessed the situation. Fear turned into razor-thin tension. A tense standoff hung in the air, the potential for violence palpable. "What if they don't listen?" Jessie whispered, doubt creeping into her voice. "Then we'll figure it out," Samira breathed. "But we have to try." They exchanged resolute glances, each of them feeling the weight of their mission. "All together?" Ethan asked, taking a breath. "Yeah, together," Samira affirmed, swallowing her own nerves. As they moved forward, an unexpected ally stepped from the crowd, an elderly woman with a cane. Her voice, steady and calm, rose above the din enough. The combatants froze. The woman limped into view, her presence demanding attention. "You're just wasting breath. Whatever you're fighting for, it's not worth this." The attention shifted, drawn away from violence and toward her formidable spirit. Samira held her breath, watching as the group hesitated, stunned by the old woman's surprising authority. "See," Samira whispered. "Maybe all it takes is one voice." But deep down, a nagging thought lingered. Would this voice be strong enough to quell the underwater turmoil? Just as hope started to bloom, another loud crash echoed from the back of the market. The crowd turned animated once more. More chaos threatened to unfurl. "What now?" Jessie exclaimed, dread creeping in again. As they braced themselves for whatever was next, the distant scream began to morph into a vicious roar. This was no longer an isolated incident. They were teetering on the brink of something bigger, and Samira felt the weight of her resolve buckle under the uncertainty. Did they have the strength to stand together against it all? The chaos erupted like a thunderstorm, rolling through the market square. Samira felt her heartbeat race, the electric tension slicing the air like a knife. The events of the day had transformed from a glimmer of hope into a fierce battle for their community's heart. People surged closer, voices overlapping in confusion and anger. Samira exchanged frantic glances with Ethan and Jessie. They had come so far, united in their mission to create change, but could they keep their world from unraveling? "Let us stay calm," Samira shouted over the din, raising her hands as if to physically still the crowd. "We're all in this together. We need to talk." But the shouts only grew louder, fueled by fear and frustration. Jessie's earlier fire reignited as she stepped forward, her voice a fierce determination. "This fighting isn't going to solve anything. Think about the kids who need us." Samira stepped beside her, feeling a swell of pride in Jessie's courage. They had faced doubt and skepticism and returned even stronger. "We all want what's best for our future," she echoed, trying to reach the hearts behind the anger. "Fighting amongst ourselves only holds us back. We must unite." As if sensing her sincerity, a few faces softened from anger to contemplation. Just then, the elderly woman stood tall, reminding everyone that honor meant standing together rather than against each other. "Enough," she proclaimed, her steadiness cutting through the uproar. Samira watched with hope as the crowd began to quiet, drawn into the harmony of the woman's voice. "You've all come from the same struggles, haven't you?" she continued. "You're not enemies. Your family's fighting for a better life." Silence hung thick for a moment, the fear-packed air replaced by a collective breath. The tension receded, revealing a glimmer of understanding in their expressions. "Let us talk." Ethan stepped forward, emboldened by the shift. "Let us find ways to work together instead of against each other. We can create a safe space for our children. That's what matters." A murmur swept through the crowd as people began to nod, processing the turn of events. Samira felt a fire fanning in her chest. Together, they could harness this energy to propel change. Seeing the shift, Jessie's shoulders relaxed, and she turned to Samira with gratitude shining in her eyes. "We really can pull this off," she breathed, an awe-inspiring spark ignited. But then a voice cut through the moment louder than before, charging their hope with uncertainty. "And how do we know this isn't just another empty promise?" Someone shouted from the edge of the gathering. The challenge hung like storm clouds, and Samira's heart sank. Trust was fragile, but just as doubt hardens the hearts of many, so too could hope soften them. We need to prove it, Samira responded, interrupting the doubt with determination. We can start tonight. A community meeting where everyone gathers to share their voices. If we listen to each other, we'll understand what we truly need. The elderly woman nodded vigorously. I'll help lead it. We can come together. All our voices deserve to be heard. Ethan glanced at Samira, hope sparkling in his eyes. See, together we can create a vision that resonates with everyone here. With a hesitant enthusiasm, the crowd began to murmur again, uncertainty shifting to curiosity and a sense of unity. The energy was palpable. The rage that once dominated now morphed into the collective hope they had all sought. Samira stepped forward, her feet feeling surreal, grounding her amid the whirlwind of emotion. This could be the moment when pain twisted into purpose, when they all collectively recognized that they shared not only struggles, but dreams. Let us not wait, she called out, her voice carrying the dream they all envisioned. Let us gather our ideas, share our stories tonight. Together, we can create something that isn't just for the kids, it'll be for all of us. As heads nodded in agreement, Samira felt a wave of relief wash over her. In that swelling tide of unity, trust had the potential to bloom, blossoming outwards to touch every heart. With renewed strength, the crowd dispersed, hope swirling in the air like fresh spring flowers. That meeting would open doors, it would lay down the groundwork for a brighter future. As Ethan, Jesse, and Samira stood together, she sensed something beautiful in the air, the spirit of change, ignited and spreading. They had taken a stand, and while the road ahead promised challenges, they were ready to face the storm together stronger than ever. Now, more than ever, it felt right. This was their moment to build a bridge to a brighter future. And with that thought etched in their hearts, Samira realized they would fight for each child in their community. They were all in this, destroying the chains of doubt and rising together to overcome whatever awaited them. This was only the beginning. Now it's your turn to be part of our journey. Subscribe immediately to stay updated on these incredible stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below with your reactions, your feelings. What did this ending mean to you? And don't wait not even one more second to share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the impact of supporting our tight-knit community. Let us keep this momentum going.